unbeaten Nebraska derailed by an underdog's daring.
Got it wide open, baby! What a call by McAdoo!
In '98, Kansas State had a grip on a trip to Tempe before it was ripped away in the final furious moments. Now the Wildcats can deny a top-ranked team, gain revenge, and grab their first conference crown. OU and K-State wage round 2 for the rings as the Hurricanes watch helplessly, hungry for a rematch of their own. The Tigers and Gators go at it again for the SEC crown.
Beat Army, beat Army, beat Navy!
The Army-Navy battles begin a second century, and we relive the few astounding hours that reshaped the season.
On! Touchdown, Kerry Watkins!
As we go to Kansas City for a championship Saturday college game day. Next.
College Game Day is presented by Discover Car, proud sponsor of college football's premier pregame show.
And good morning from Kansas City, across from the home of the Chiefs. Kansas State played here the opening game in August, but it was about 80 degrees warmer. For the first time in the 5-year history of the Big 12 championship game, it is not in a dome. And we've got good December football conditions. Welcome to a special championship Saturday edition of College Game Day. Chris Fowler, Lee Corso, Kirk Herbstreit. Today's show is so big it involves 2 costume changes from this guy. Stay tuned. Main focus on the 2 rematches of games first played on October 14th. Not just the rings, but revenge, the motivation. Revenge is a topic that's almost as tasty to Kansas State as that Tostitos Fiesta Bowl bid they'd get with their first conference title since the 1934 Big Six crown. It was a 25-game home streak snapped by an underdog Sooners team when Bob Soups and 3 other Bill Snyder assistants won there in October. Now for the 4th straight week, they are the only unbeaten team trying to dodge an ambush. This is a nasty dog-eat-dog thing, the Big 12 championship game. 2 unbeaten teams have been upset here in its brief history, and this time it's the first time that it's outdoors at night. It'll be cold. Bandwagon has slowed a bit for Oklahoma the last couple of weeks. They've lost a total of 14 first-place votes in the polls last week, but Steve Cyphers, they don't sound too bothered by that, do they?
Chris, the Sooners don't live in a bubble in northern Oklahoma. They know they've lost a few votes. They know they have their critics, but they also know they're number 1.
People are saying that Florida State and Miami, they deserve to be, you know what I'm saying, 1 and 2, but we're still undefeated, only team in the nation to do that, so I feel that we should be up there.
They're not playing right now. They haven't played the last 2 weeks. So I don't know where that comes from, and I'm not real concerned. The last I looked, they might have a couple votes, but we got a few more.
We might lose votes because we don't score that many points, but a win's a win, and at the end of the season, whoever has the most wins and wins the games that they need to win, wins the big games, that's going to be the team that's number 1.
Griffin gets inside the 15, still on his feet. Griffin 5. Griffin goes in, touchdown Oklahoma.
In that first game, we played sloppy football.
They had 14 points just because we didn't tackle, and it would have been a whole different ball game if we had.
We just come out and execute. That's the main thing that we do on offense. We execute, we'll be fine.
This Oklahoma team is a better football team than we were last, when we played 5 or 6 weeks ago. I'll tell you that much.
There's no other game besides this game right now. Our vision is cut short at December 2nd, and that's all we're looking at right now.
We're a bump in their road to get to where they want to go, and they're bumping our road to get where we want to go. So, it's going to be a dogfight. It's going to be exciting. This is everything that everybody's going to hype it up to be, and I hope that it's just that.
Chris is fired up as Lieber, the Wildcats, and the Sooners sound. May not be as cold as we're expecting tonight.
Oh, nice and balmy. Here's a look at the first meeting back in Manhattan. Oklahoma winning despite 11 rush yards, which is misleading. Heupel was sacked 4 times. On 3rd down, they were brilliant, and Kansas State really struggled. Just 2 for 15. You can see the Sooners won the field position war, and that was also very key. It was a 24-point Oklahoma lead before Kansas State rallied behind a block punt and ended up with that 10-point margin.
You know, Oklahoma in the first 9 ball games averaged 46 points a game. The last 2 weeks, 18. And I'm going to tell you why I think that's so. The reason is I think the offensive staff from Oklahoma is coaching scared. Why? Because number one, the higher the stakes, they get more conservative. That's natural. And number two, the Oklahoma defense so good, the offense doesn't want to lose the ball game for them. I think that's a mistake. I think Oklahoma's got to come out smoking. They got to throw deep. They got to run reverses. They got to take a couple of chances. They got to be proactive, not reactive if they're going to win this game and then on to win Florida State.
You know what? I don't think it's just the coaches. I think it's the Oklahoma players. If you went back and looked at the Oklahoma players and their intensity level when people were doubting them, when they played Texas, when they played Kansas State, when they played Nebraska, they were at a high level because they were trying to prove to people that they were the real deal. Once they beat Nebraska, I think they leveled off emotionally. It's been a different team. I think today, with so much on the line against a quality opponent, I think you're going to see the old Oklahoma team from an attitude standpoint, the type of team that comes out and plays with a lot of energy. And for Kansas State, this is a great opportunity to come out and beat a great opponent. Bill Snyder is 2-12 against top 10 teams. His program needs this win tonight.
In the loss 2 years ago in the title game, one of his most painful, he actually shed tears. Now the role is reversed. Meanwhile, with their bowl fate hanging in the balance, the Miami Hurricanes waiting, watching, and feeling helpless, hoping very much for a Kansas State victory. The Wildcats can return to Miami what the BCS formula took away from them, control of their own destiny. Florida State is in the FedEx Orange Bowl. Miami would be there if Kansas State wins. Oklahoma, Florida State, of course, is the matchup if the Sooners get it done. Miami's lead over Florida State in the AP poll, a healthy 56 points. They have led them 8 straight weeks. They now have 6 first-place votes, but in the BCS standings, of course, Florida State leads them. Joining us now, the defensive leader for Miami, the linebacker, the All-American, Dan Morgan. Dan, good morning. I imagine in your life, it's not very often that you feel helpless. Do you feel helpless watching this game tonight? Do you have a purple shirt that you can put on?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be wearing the Kansas State colors tonight, and you know, I'm gonna be sitting on the couch, you know, with all my teammates, and you know, we're hoping for a big victory at Kansas State.
You know what Florida State has said? We would love to have a chance at Miami once again. I know you guys feel that your victory over them was anything but a fluke. Have you been interested to hear Florida State's talk the last few weeks as this whole BCS debate has accelerated?
Yeah, you know, they're talking like they'd want a rematch with us, and you know, if Kansas State pulls this game out, you know, it's going to be us and Florida State, and, you know, we look forward to that challenge.
There was an interception that you had against Chris Winkie, very important play in that first meeting. All right, I don't want you to be a politician, Dan. There's too much of that in the state of Florida, so give me your honest opinion. Scale of 1 to 10, how hacked off of the Hurricane to this whole BCS system that might deny you guys a chance to win a title on the field?
You know, we're a little bit sick of this BCS thing, and, you know, we feel like we're getting, you know, a little bit shafted by it, and, you know, we feel we deserve the number 2 ranking. I mean, we beat Florida State, and we deserve it. You know, it's plain and simple. And, you know, we got to depend on Kansas State tonight to win this game. And, you know, all you Kansas State guys sitting in your hotel room right now, you know, we're on your side tonight, and let's do it.
A little pep talk from the Miami leader. Can you guys approach a Sugar Bowl if you don't get a chance to play FSU the same way as you would a national championship game? Will you be motivated in that game if that happens to you?
There's no doubt that we're going to be motivated. You know, we still got a shot at getting half of the national title, and with the AP poll and the USA Today ESPN poll. So, you know, we're going to go out fired up no matter who we play, and, you know, we're going to bring it to whoever we play.
Dan, once again, thanks for joining us. We know you'll be watching with your teammates, and we'll see you down the line at the Home Depot Awards show this week.
Okay, all right, let's go, Kansas State.
Hey, one final, let's go Wildcats. We talked to Joaquin Gonzalez, the fine All-American tackle. He said he had a dream after the first game they would play Florida State again. We'll see if he's psychic.
Can Dan slide into the purple tonight and maybe play for Kansas State? It might help him out. I think one of the things being lost with all the BCS formulas and the computer talk, Dan Morgan just touched on, there still can be a split poll. And if Oklahoma wins tonight against Kansas State and they play Florida State in the Orange Bowl, Miami goes to the Sugar Bowl more than likely with an opportunity to win their bowl game going into the bowls at number 2 in the country in the AP poll. If Florida State were to beat Oklahoma, it would be chaos. It would be the BCS's worst nightmare. You would have the coaches poll who would have to honor the Orange Bowl champion, which would be Florida State, and the Sugar Bowl, which would be, if Miami can win it, you would have a split poll.
Yeah.
So Miami, even if Oklahoma wins tonight, they're not out of it. They can still win a share of the title.
You talk about chaos. The BCS poll is based on subjective polls and computer rankings. And one of the things that the computer does is rank the schedules of the opponents and the teams. That's how they put 1, 2, and 3. Now, all three of these top teams have played excellent conference schedules, and they have played some nationally ranked teams outside of it and some other teams. Florida State has beaten BYU, Miami, Louisiana Tech, and McNeese State. Oklahoma, Texas, El Paso, Arkansas State, and Rice. Now, you can see why the computer puts Florida State 1, Miami 2, and Oklahoma number 24. Now, my friends, that is subjective. Forget about it. That's a fact.
It's very subjective.
The head-to-head.
You can spin it any way you want, Lee. How can you compare the conference schedules they play? The Big 12 against the ACC, that fine Duke and Wake team? Get out of here.
The computer does do that.
Good thing you're not emotional and the pollsters are. All right. Miami's opponent, if they play in that Sugar Bowl, the SEC champion, that'll be determined tonight in the Georgia Dome. Jabbar Gaffney. It was a nightmare for Auburn the first game. Larry Casher burned for 3 touchdowns by Gaffney. Rudy Johnson just wants to make it a 4-quarter war and pound away late. We'll check in with Tony Barnhart next.
Today's show is presented by Discover Card, proud to be the sponsor of College Game Day, and in part by Tostitos. Dig in, kick back, stay all season.
Fans in Kansas City mindful of the fact that the Big 12 title game has produced some upsets in its brief history. In the SEC, the stronger team usually prevails. Auburn is 0-1 in these things. Florida is 0-1 in the post-Danny Werfel era, including an embarrassing loss to Alabama last year in which their only points were scored in the first quarter on a halfback pass. Both sides are preaching hunger. Auburn has lost 6 straight to Florida, 70-21 combined scores under Tuberville. Tigers, though, riding a 4-game win streak, coming off the shutout at Alabama. They want to show they've improved since that trip to the woodshed in Gainesville when Florida scored in its first 5 possessions, 5 touchdowns on 10 completions for Rex Grossman, 35 points, their first 19 offensive plays. Rex got giddy, said after the game that Florida's scout team defense might have done a better job than Auburn. That's made all the bulletin boards this week, and a defensive assistant for the Tigers is calling his defense the scout team. So revenge, a big motivation as we check in with Tony Barnhart in the Georgia Dome. A little spicy build-up to this game, Tony.
Yeah, it really is. You know, Chris, now 2 weeks ago, we were all in Tallahassee, and we saw Florida get pounded by Florida State. So we asked the players and coaches from both sides on this game, can the Gators bounce back and beat Auburn for the 2nd straight time this year? Their answer, are you kidding, Bubba? We're playing for an SEC championship.
We didn't play our best, didn't coach our best up at Tallahassee. Left the ball on the 1-2 yard line a couple of times, so the score was a little bigger than maybe what it could have been, but that's history. And we didn't win the game, and all we can do is try to learn from our mistakes.
You want to be a part of history of the tradition here, and you know, you can pretty much go anywhere to get an education, but you come here to win championships.
I think everybody on this team believes that we can win this football game, but we know it's going to be a tough football game to play. But we got to come out and make sure we bring our A-Day game. And we bring our A-Day game and come out and play with the way we play football, and we think good things will happen.
The SEC championship, this is the biggest game I've ever played in my life, and I'm very, very excited and very much looking forward to it.
Now, guys, an injury update. Todd Johnson, the Florida free safety, will play in this game despite that he has had a screw inserted in that left index finger that he broke against Florida State. Guys, with a bowl game a month away, with a championship on the line, if you can walk, you got to suit up and play. Chris?
Yeah, Tony, and Johnson's a tough guy. He's a guy that's going to have to help tackle Rudy Johnson, the secondary. Had a huge interception in that first meeting with Auburn that set up one of those quick touchdowns.
Well, everybody's talking about the Gators. In that first ball game, as they said, they not only scored early, they scored fast. The first 5 times they said they scored touchdowns, but this is the interesting stat. It took them less than 90 seconds to score 3 of those touchdowns. And the key guy was their quarterback, number 8, Rex Grossman. Now, Grossman hit 10 of 14 for 5 touchdowns. He hit number 10, Jabbar Gaffney, for 2 of those touchdowns in the first half. But here's the amazing thing about this stat. 50% of Rex's completions went for touchdowns in the first half. Now, there's a sense of urgency at Florida and the Gainesville for the Gators. Why? Because if the Gators lose this ball game, it will be the first Gator senior class in 11 years for Steve Spurrier not to win the SEC title or a ring. I think they win the title and the ring. It'll be closer than the last game, but it's still big enough to make everybody else happy.
Okay. Between the lines there, and I agree with Chris. You got to believe the Auburn defense is excited for a chance to get back at Rex Grossman. I think the real story of this game is going to be when Auburn has the football, are they going to be able to put points up on the board against the Gators' opportunistic defense? This year, the Gators have gone into games, they've given up some yards at times, but they've been able to create turnovers time and time again. Since the Mississippi State game, they're only allowing 102 yards on the ground per game. They forced 36 turnovers. That's second in the country, including 3 turnovers against Auburn in their first matchup. They are plus 18 in the turnover margin on the year. That is outstanding. Now, outside of the turnover battle in this game, it'll be interesting to see if they can get Rudy Johnson on track. The Gators know they're going to have to run the ball. If Auburn is in obvious passing downs, the game is over because Ben Laird will be on his back. The Gators will pressure him, and that's when they create their turnovers, when teams are in obvious passing downs. It's all about Rudy Johnson. If he can run, they got a chance. If he can't, the game's over. I agree with Lee. Florida wins. Too much talent.
I think it's a tussle. That senior class, as Spurrier says, hasn't accomplished much. Only 3 senior starters on Florida. Look out for Florida and Tennessee next year in the SEC East. In the SEC West, things get interesting because Alabama makes news on the eve of the championship game, and that's not a coincidence, by hiring Dennis Francione, the latest millionaire coach. Tony, how is that going to shake things up in that SEC Western division?
Well, Chris, I don't think there's any doubt that the addition of Francione is going to change how the SEC West looks. It's always been the sort of the black and blue division. I think he's going to open things up. Now, are the Alabama people excited about this hire? Well, consider this. Our friend Mike Gottfried does not have to worry about selling tickets to the Mobile, Alabama Bowl. Francione will coach his team, his TCU team, against Southern Miss, but I promise you, the dominant color in that stadium is going to be crimson. Chris?
All right, Tony, Tide fans, a little preview of their next football coach, Mike Bellotti at Oregon, now the next coach that has to mull off one of those high 7-figure offers from USC. When we come back, we'll shift the focus back to Kansas State and Oklahoma. Quincy Morgan had a key touchdown in that first game, but needs to make more big plays. And we'll focus on Josh Heupel, co-Heisman frontrunner at this point, looking for a big ball game tonight to help his cause. Bob Stoops will join us coming up from Kansas City. ESPN the magazine has a feature on Josh Heupel, who shouldn't be bothered playing in the cold weather. He grew up in South Dakota. He played at Snow Junior College. You should be right at home, and you can log on to ESPN.com, weigh in. The big topic right now, who should win the Heisman Trophy? Is it Heupel, Breeze, Anderson, Tomlinson, Vick, or Chris Winkie of Florida State? Our presentation of the Heisman Trophy, presented by Wendy's, next Saturday, 8 o'clock Eastern Time from the Downtown Athletic Club. We certainly hope you'll join us. Heupel, of course, was a Heisman long shot the first meeting of these teams 7 weeks ago when OU was an unproven underdog. That day he was sacked 4 times, knocked down 10 times, but threw for 374, most ever allowed by Kansas State. There's a pile of tape to pour over this weekend. Besides the first game, they have 4 common opponents. Texas Tech coach Mike Leach, a year removed from running the Sooners offense, breaks it down. Grab a notebook, we'll dim the lights, and Leach will run the tape machine.
The autumn leaves disappear and the college football season draws to a close, we look towards excellence. Excellence of character exhibited in the most American of all rivalries, the Army-Navy game.
This is the biggest game for any player, any coach, and any cadet. So I think we all look at it the same way. You know, this is the game.
We can look at that Army-Navy game as a bowl game.
That was a quick preview of the Army-Navy game, which we'll talk about coming up. But a guy who's much more concerned about the Oklahoma-Kansas State game, of course, is Sooner head coach Bob Stoops. You've heard all the analysis from a lot of the experts breaking things down. What's been different about the last 2 weeks versus the first 9 weeks? What's the mindset going into this game for you guys?
Our players are anxious to play. We realize we've seen 2 deep and 3 deep coverage for 2 years. So there isn't any new inventions defensively. More than anything, it gets down to our execution, catching the football and holding on to it.
And you're very kind to join us over here, bringing your team over for a walk through the morning of the game, which is kind of an unconventional move.
Well, when you're playing so late, we don't like our team to sit around the hotel all day to get lethargic. We like to get out, let them move around, and be active.
Let's roll that piece now from Coach Mike Leach, breaking things down, and we'll come back out and talk more about this ball game. Coach Leach, roll B, take B.
The strength of Oklahoma's defense is they make you work for everything that you get, and they'll try to take advantage of various things and try to keep you off balance. And if you recognize it and you identify it and you attack it, you're going to move the ball effectively. The offense, what their game is to identify who's coming or where the open space is going to be and try to attack that. Now, if they drop everybody off, you want to run the ball. If they bring everybody and keep this middle open, you need to attack the middle. And as you hit plays in the middle, then they're going to have solutions to that, whether it's to drop these guys here or bring these guys forward. And then when that happens, you need to go outside and go vertical.
Touchdown, Nebraska!
And one thing about Oklahoma is they're very aggressive and very good at rallying to the football, which has been one of their strengths all year, but it's also something you can take advantage of. If you cut it back against the grain like Wes does here, the Oklahoma defenders fly to the ball and are overcommitted to the outside, and when we cut it back inside, it's effective for us.
And Heupel recognizing it. Here they come. Fires, got it. Complete to Josh Norman.
This play here is one of Josh Heupel and Oklahoma's favorite plays, and it's a pretty good play. What they have is they have the inside receiver singled up on this safety to both sides. They're going to hitch outside here. They're going to hitch outside here. And then the inside receivers are going to run corner routes. The corner route's also a route that Josh really throws well, probably one of the best routes that he throws. A lot of times people will say, well, throw downfield. But, you know, if you have this all day long and you can get 8 yards, you're going to control the football, and you're also going to move the ball down and have the ability to score touchdowns. And Oklahoma's done a great job of that all year.
Now, Bob Stoops has been listening to that. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll dissect this Kansas State-Oklahoma game, and we continue from Kansas City after this. And we'll talk Army-Navy later. Don't worry.
College Game Day is presented by Discover Card for the slightly smarter consumer.
Kansas City pumped up the first time this city has hosted this spectacle that generates $8 million for the conference. And as Bob Stoops rejoins us, it's a reality, this championship game. I don't know that the coaches that have brought unbeaten teams in here in the past, Coach Osborne, Coach Snyder, have really embraced this game and looked at upon it as a nice thing. It's a challenge for you guys, but how are you approaching it?
Well, our approach has been we're going to play the football game. The game was scheduled before the season started, so we realized this is part of our season to be here in this position, and I like the odds. The odds are with us. One of us is bound to go undefeated through the championship game.
Sooner or later.
Coach, you grew up around high school football with a coach that obviously your dad is a coach. Around Hayden Fry, you played in big games, but you're relatively young as a head coach. Your team went from climbing a mountain, kind of like showing people that you were legit, to all of a sudden proving you were legitimate, and then you had to play inferior opponents. How have you changed your approach to them psychologically from the beginning of the year to the last couple weeks where they've kind of leveled off emotionally?
Well, all we've done is what we stay in the same routine each and every week, and that helps you in those tough games when maybe they don't have all the psychological advantage. So you stay in your normal routine, and the players understand regardless, you know, when you get on the football field, you still have to execute, make plays, and win football games, and we've been able to do that. And I like the tight games. It's helped us, and it'll help us this week.
Before the last 2 ball games, your team averaged 46 points a game. The last 2 weeks, 15. Yo, what happened to your offense?
Well, some teams have defended us well, have made plays, and tipped balls, and have made some good execution on their part. Some of it has been us. Turnovers have been the biggest difference in the last 2-3 games. If we don't turn the ball over, I think we score more points.
You touched on it earlier. Is too much being made of this? Just play zone, drop back in coverage, make the tackle. That's how you stop this offense. Is too much being made out of this week?
I don't think there's any question. The last 2 weeks aren't the first time we've seen zone coverage. In 2 years, we've seen it a lot.
You guys coaching scared. My man over here says the offensive staff last couple of weeks. He says go for it. He says get Heupel throwing the ball downfield. Is the elbow fine? He's okay.
He's perfect. He's throwing the ball better than ever. He hasn't missed a practice, hasn't missed a throw in practice, and we probably will put it downfield a little more today.
He's a good cold weather quarterback though, right? No problem with this weather.
He's from Aberdeen. They already have 22 inches of snow up there.
Right. Did you ever, in your wildest dreams, ever expect to be here this quick?
Yes. We did. And hopefully we'll be back some more.
Good. I believe you when you say that. Thanks for joining us, Bobby. Appreciate it. Best of luck tonight. Of course, ABC has the coverage tonight in prime time at 8 o'clock Eastern time. We'll come back. Further breakdown of this game. That Oklahoma defense has scored critical points in the last 3 ball games. Lee and Kirk will chew on this game some more when we come back outside Arrowhead Stadium.
Tradition is brought to you by Tostitos. Dig in, kick back, stay all season.
You know the old saying about throwing out the records when it comes to a rivalry? Well, Army at 1-9, Navy at 0-10 have the worst combined record in the 101-game history, but that might only intensify things. The site, the Navy town of Baltimore for the first time since '44. It's a very tough ticket there. Navy can rally around 91 when all the pain of an 0-10 start was erased by an upset of Army. They must overcome a wounded quarterback. Brian Broadwater, good Navy name, is playing through a concussion. Todd Berry's heart is pounding. He's the first-year Army head coach. He knows the last 5 cadet head coaches have lost their debut against Navy. It's the brigade against the corps, the goat against the mule. And the guys today will share the same emotions of Dawkins and Staubach and all the guys who fought in these battles before them.
The autumn leaves disappear and the college football season draws to a close. We look towards excellence. Excellence of character exhibited in the most American of all rivalries, the Army-Navy game.
This is the biggest game for any player, any coach, and any cadet. So I think we all look at it the same way. You know, this is the game.
We can look at that Army-Navy game as a bowl game, a national championship, a division champion, a conference championship, all rolled into one.
I remember going on my first helicopter assault in combat, and I was nervous and I was frightened. And when we were on the ground and things had settled down, I immediately thought back and said, that was tough, but I wasn't nearly as anxious as I was waiting for the kickoff of the Army-Navy game.
I was the starting quarterback, and it's the most nervous I've ever been before a football game. I didn't sleep the night before, and that didn't even happen at Super Bowls or the rivals we had in the NFL.
Beat Army, beat Army, beat Navy! The whole objective of Army football is to beat Navy. I guess you can say the whole objective of Army athletics is to beat Navy.
It's a way of life here. The first words you learn upon entering this place as a plebe, a freshman, is go Navy, beat Army.
The first thing they start talking about is the Navy game. Even though we got other games, we got 9 other games before it, they started talking about the Navy game.
The thrill of victory after beating Army was such a big deal. We knew we were going to get that star on our end sweater.
The respect is wonderful. I mean, you really feel for these guys after the game, your friends, you're back to being comrades as servicemen in this United States service.
If beating Navy allowed you to win the national championship, would you be twice as happy? And the answer is no. You'd be 10 times as happy.
This is always an emotional day each year for Captain Corso, who's dressed for duty.
Admiral Corso, expecting to speak, please. May I speak? I'm getting an admiral now. 33 years ago, I was on a Navy staff, and I won this robe from an Army coach when we beat Army 1914. And let me tell you something about it. There is nothing like this game. So before you die, all you college football fans, go to see the game. Watch the cadets, the midshipmen walk on. Watch the goat. Watch the mule. Watch everything. And today, watch 0-10 Navy. They're going to kill Army. Navy wins, sir.
You know what? I agree with you. Watch the entrance. I don't know about watching the game, the goat, the mule, and then watch the post game because they get together after the game. That's the pregame and the post game. The most
That's
exciting.
the difference in a generation.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
Always you finally found the outerwear that you needed, by the way, Lee.
Yes, sir. Very good.
We will relive the moments of the 2000 season, including the Knowles and the Canes' final seconds when we come back to Kansas City. What do you make week of the college football 2000 season. The preseason crystal ball was a little cloudy. 6 of the top 8 lost in the first month. The current #1 started down at 20. Some dynasties sagged. Bama, Penn State shut out on the same day. Just one major conference crown was defended. That was Florida State. South Carolina, Ball State stacked 21-game losing streaks with 4-game winning streaks. But in 2000, one day stands out when everything was turned inside out. Repercussions still being felt all the way back to that day that will live for fans forever. October 28th, 2000.
The day begins with the awakening of a dormant rivalry. All is right in the college football cosmos. But by 12:40, Oklahoma is not okay. The Huskers look overwhelming. The Sooners overmatched. How quickly the bubble bursts. Meanwhile, in Minnesota's bubble, Northwestern's in trouble, down 35-14. Back in Norman, a shocking flurry. At 2:06, the Sooners' 31st unanswered point. In 2 hours, Josh Heupel goes from Heisman fringe to frontrunner. OU becomes the top-ranked targeted team and has to claw for victories from that minute on. In the Dome, another astounding turnaround. Northwestern's 4th straight touchdown. A Zach Kustok Hail Mary answered on the final play.
Caught! Touchdown! Northwestern wins it!
At Purdue, the Boilers' big date with Ohio State is just beginning. In Blacksburg, the Heisman race is turning upside down. Michael Vick's ankle is wrenched. Vick will take just 19 snaps the next 2.5 games, including a loss at Miami that finishes Tech's title dreams. Meanwhile, Notre Dame's BCS Bowl hopes seem doomed. But Air Force's game-winning chip shot is blocked by fill-in Glenn Earl. In overtime, Joey Getherall's end-around ends it. Notre Dame's last real scare in a 7-game streak that's expected to carry them to Tempe. Pasadena dreams are dying down the road to West Lafayette. A Drew Brees brain freeze, a pick by Mike Doss, sets up Ohio State's go-ahead touchdown. At that moment, the Pac-10 front-running Ducks look cooked, down 14 at Arizona State, and Washington looks like the new Rose Bowl favorite, cruising at Stanford. 2 minutes later, at Death Valley, Clemson's perfect season is laid to rest.
Dodson to the end zone again, and it is caught! Touchdown, Kerry Watkins!
5 minutes after throwing away the Roses, Brees reclaims them.
Looking to throw long, down the middle of the field. He's going for Morales, who's got it at the 10. Touchdown, Seth Morales of Purdue.
At 7:22, Oregon's done until the Sun Devils fumble away certain victory. A minute later, Joey Harrington's pass forces OT, and Oregon finally wins when Bruce Snyder's gamble fake PAT 2-point pass fails. 2 losses later, Snyder is fired. Back at Stanford, a stunner. The Cardinals scored 22 points in 4.5 minutes. But on this day's final miracle, Marcus Tuiasosopo drives the Huskies 80 yards in 3 plays.
He's going to throw wide open. Robbins, touchdown, Washington. Unbelievable. Touche.
One of 5 fourth-quarter comebacks, and 7 Washington wins by a touchdown or less. If those narrow margins are still hurting the Huskies' rating, the decimal duel is just beginning in Florida. With Miami starters long gone, Louisiana Tech tacks on late touchdowns. An 11-point win is misleading but damaging data for the BCS computers. Because in Raleigh, Bobby Bowden is dragging ex-assistant Chuck Amato behind the woodshed. The final margin, 44 over a ranked Wolfpack team. Thus begins the love affair between the Seminoles and the Silicon Brains in the BCS formula. And thus ends 600 minutes, when the whole college football universe was thrown out of orbit simultaneously. And satellite dishes never looked so beautiful.
Well, that was a big weekend, but there were so many great memories for all of us. I go back to October 7th. Miami and Florida State butting heads. Miami controlled the game, but Chris Wenke brought the Noles back. In fact, took the lead 24-20 with about a minute and a half to go. But Ken Dorsey would drive the Canes back, take the lead to set up once again wide right for Florida State. The distance was there, but the kick goes to the right. Great game. 2 of the best teams on the field. So many great athletes, and Florida State was close. Maybe they'll get another chance.
My magic moment was Lavelle Edwards, BYU winning his 257th game against the rival Utah and having the football team carry him off. To see the look on his face, the smile, that was wonderful. Later on, BYU named the stadium after him, Lavelle Edwards Stadium, and that, my friends, were the 2 best moments that I had last year.
Lavelle will be missed from this season.
sir.
What a great year. I don't want to rub it in. We had 5 satellite dishes that day, October 20th. Sorry about that. We're going to come back. These guys will break down in detail both sides of the ball, Kansas State versus Oklahoma. K-State, not a low fest, but the fans mingled peacefully at last night's pep rally in the Westport area of Kansas City. And everybody figured this Big 12 championship game would have national title impact. They just figured it'd be either Kansas State or Nebraska. Husker fans bought up a lot of the tickets in the hotel rooms. Today, of course, many fans wearing a slightly darker shade of red. They've come farther, faster than almost any program you can name, from 3-8, from an Independence Bowl loss to preseason number 20, now to number 1. Suddenly, just winning by a couple of touchdowns isn't enough for Oklahoma. Steve Cyphers has more on Oklahoma's efforts to wear the hat of front runners as well as they wore the hat of underdog with chip on the shoulder. Steve?
Chris, in Norman, Oklahoma, they call it Red October. 3 games, 3 wins, each more impressive than the one before. Texas, Kansas State, and then Nebraska. Just like that, Oklahoma was number 1. But heavy is the head that wears the crown, and the last 3 games have tested that Oklahoma neck.
Yeah, we've struggled last couple of games. No, we haven't been happy with the way we played lately.
Lately is a 22-point fourth quarter rally against Texas A&M, a closer than it should have been game against Texas Tech, and that thank goodness he batted that what would have been the game-winning pass against Big 12 bottom-feeding Oklahoma State. From stoppers to stumblers, that's lately.
Sometimes it's better to win in those tough, tight games than it is just to blow everybody out. Not every team that's ever won a national championship has blown everyone out. You know, there have been squeaking games here and there.
It's good for us that we have these close games because we know that even when things are looking down, we always look to ourselves, knowing that we have it in us to fight and just some way, you know what I'm saying, just win.
It's a learning process, going from upset-minded underdogs to heavy-handed favorites. Sooners say they haven't noticed a change in the way they play, but the opposition is different.
That is noticeable. I mean, you can't hide, you know, or escape the fact that you're the #1 team in the country.
After the A&M game, J.C. Watts came in and talked to us, and he said, you're no longer the hunters, you're the hunted, and I think that makes it a lot different.
When you're on top, you're gonna get everybody's best shot each and every week.
And in the last 3 weeks, against the Sooner offense, the ammo was changed. Firing blitzes and tight man coverages at the Oklahoma passing attack proved pointless. So the Sooners saw fewer men racing to pressure Josh Heupel in favor of scattering in the secondary, playing zones, up and down and across the field.
Zone. A&M went a little bit of zone as well.
Then Texas Tech even more?
Texas Tech went a lot.
And then Oklahoma State?
Complete.
I wouldn't say that the defenses startled us or caught us off guard. I think it's just a matter of execution. Throwing the ball, catching it, protecting it, and no, unnecessary penalties in key situations. That's what really set us back.
Zone. Right or wrong, Heupel accepts a lot of the blame, believing the Sooner system can flourish against such soft zones.
It suits it very well. Last year, up until 3/4 of the way through the season, that's all teams played us were zone. We just haven't done a good job of executing the past 3 weeks.
It's a part of football. You know, there's ups and downs, but, you'll face adversity, and you have to look at it in the face and go after it, meet it head on.
And that's their approach. Underdog or favorite, stomping or stumbling, doesn't matter. Let others debate the meaning of the last 3 weeks. The only undefeated team in the country has something to prove to itself.
Until the team wins the national title, there's always something to prove.
Probably 1% of every person who's ever played college football gets a chance like this, and it's true, and we understand it, and we are embracing it, and we're getting the best of it, and it's incomplete unless we have all of them. So we're gonna try and do it all.
Pressure on the red zone offense. Only 4 empty trips all year for Oklahoma. Now, Kansas State, do they employ the tactics Steve talked about, or do they stay within their personality, which is aggressive, blitz?
Forget about it. The last time they blitzed, Oklahoma ate them up. Watch Kansas State to use a more conservative, umbrella-type defense made famous by Tom Landry and the New York Giants in 1950. The theory of this is to put up a picket fence, let the receiver catch the ball, then boom, punish him. Keep the yards to a minimum after he catches the football. I would blitz only if it's necessary and as a surprise, because Oklahoma will go and they're gone against the blitz.
You know what? I think it's very obvious that Kansas State's going to play more zone than they did in the first matchup. So for Oklahoma, it's a change of philosophy offensively. They kind of have to go from 5th gear to 2nd or 3rd gear. They have to be patient with the passing game and also, most importantly, run the football with Quentin Griffin. They turned to him last week. He had 21 carries and 115 yards. He has 16 touchdowns on the year. Now, Kansas State shut him down for the most part in their first game. The one thing he was able to do is he got out on 1 touchdown run right here, slipped through there. He's low center of gravity, kind of hides behind a big offensive line. Now, there's a big difference between patience and being conservative. I agree with Lee. He said earlier, they've got to take some shots deep just to stretch the Kansas State defense, but they have to be careful of being too patient. Be conservative, but not too patient.
Griffin had a great year, the little 5'6" unheralded recruit out of Houston. Now, when Kansas State has the ball, will they get better receiver play? 8 critical drops the first time, some of those down there close.
But one thing they have to do, Kansas State must practice the red zone offense. Why? Because Oklahoma wins with red zone defense. But remember one thing, Kansas State has a quarterback that can run the football, and Jonathan Beasley, and that's the key. Now you'll watch Beasley here on a quarterback draw against Oklahoma, number 18, touchdown. Then you're going to see Beasley come down the line, 2nd touchdown against Oklahoma, boom. I think Beasley's got to run the ball in the red zone and get touchdowns against Oklahoma.
Well, I think that if you look at Oklahoma, their defense is much better today than they were in the first matchup. It's very obvious. Containing Jonathan Beasley is the key to the game. He's scrambling. He's going to run the quarterback draw, the option. Look for safeties, Roy Williams and J.T. Thatcher, to come up and run support and make plays, especially Roy Williams. I think he's an All-American. The guy is phenomenal athletically. He's all-conference here against Nebraska, coming up on run support. Going back to the Kansas State game, the discipline to go back and play action. Now, as much, you got to remember, as much as the Oklahoma defense has improved, this is a different Kansas State offense than they saw the first time around. Josh Scobie is now a legitimate threat in the backfield. It's not just about Jonathan Beasley. If you worry too much about Beasley, Josh Scobie can hurt you by running the ball.
And special teams in bad weather could be a key. Ferguson for Oklahoma, great punter. Jamie Ream for Kansas State, outstanding cold weather kicker. He has already proven that. Predictions ahead. Is it Oklahoma marching to Miami? Is it Kansas State heading to Tempe? Coming up.
Today's show is presented by Discover Card, proud to be the sponsor of College Game Day, and in part by Gateway. In Gateway Country, people rule. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com, your home for college football on the internet.
Games today will determine the big BCS Bowl bids, and we hope you'll make plans to join us on College Game Day from South Beach, Miami. The special start time on New Year's morning of 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, a full 90 minutes on the FedEx Orange Bowl and all the other big games. It is time, gentlemen. 2 years ago was Kansas State 11-0. Heisman hopeful, Coach of the Year, could not survive this test. Can the Sooners survive this ambush and move on to Miami?
Well, I think the big thing with Oklahoma has been their mentality against inferior opponents the last couple of weeks. They've kind of done enough to win the games. I expect Oklahoma emotionally to be at a higher level and play with great intensity today. However, I think it's too tough to beat a good team twice in 1 year. I think Kansas State and Jonathan Beasley will beat Oklahoma today.
That's a good pick, partner. Good pick.
Thank you. Which, by the way, will put Miami in the championship against Florida State.
Which is really what you're all about.
Yeah.
Once again, a man of few words.
Look at this.
The Wildcat hat is on, but once again, the close-so hidden agenda pops up. Lee, you're killing me. You're hurting me.
Go Kansas State!
A lot of agendas going on right here. All right.
I don't know.
We want to thank the tremendous fans here who have braved the cold, the estimated 200,000 folks who have joined us throughout the year on College Game Day. They have helped make this show immensely enjoyable to do. A big thanks to Dave and Dan, our two directors, to Vec, to Stuart, the entire production staff, and mostly to this crew right out here. Many of these guys on this stage have been with us for the last 5 years. They have braved the tropics. They have braved the frozen tundra of Kansas City. They've been a big part of this show. And thank you for watching at home. We'll see you as our journey continues down there in Miami and South Beach. It's certainly been a fun ride getting there. There's no game in a player.
What are you doing? No game.
Guys, this has been #1 on our Game Day.
Upsets Georgia.
You saw my sheet. Yes, you did. I'm going Arkansas. He stole my stuff.
You're serious?
I'm picking this as my first smelly, not so fast, my friend.
What are you doing?
Chris Fowler, the Corso, Herb Street, or since we're coming to you from the home of Animal House, it's Dean Wormer and Douglas C. Niedermeyer.
Oklahoma right now is the #1 team in the country.